Ladies and gentlemen, let's get real. Right now, today, there are people in your life who are either helping you grow or they're holding you back. And sometimes it's really hard to tell the difference. Why? Because not all criticism is toxic. Not all discomfort is bad. And sometimes the people who push you hardest, the ones who make you squirm, who call you out, those are the ones who love you enough to not let you settle. That's tough love. That's rare. And it's one of the most powerful forms of love you can get. But toxic people, they're a different story. They're a different story. Toxic people don't challenge you to rise. They manipulate you to shrink. They twist your words. They drain your energy. They make everything about them. They aren't giving you feedback to help you grow. They're trying to control you so they feel better about themselves. That's not love. That's ego. Ego. Day. Water, D. That's poison. And you need to know the difference because your future depends on it. I need you to hear this. Your boundaries are not up for debate. Toxic people will make you feel like you're the problem for having limits. They'll call you selfish. They'll say you've changed. And you know what? Good. You're supposed to change. You're supposed to grow. You're not here to be the emotional garbage can for everyone else's drama. Tough love, though. Tough love is someone saying, hey, I believe in you, but you're better than this. It's your friend telling you that your excuses are holding you back. It's your coach pushing you when you want to quit. It's uncomfortable, but it comes from a place of belief, of faith in your potential. That's not toxicity. That's the real MVP in your corner. Here's the mistake we make. We confuse familiarity with safety. Just because someone's been around forever doesn't mean they're good for you. And just because someone's honest with you doesn't mean they're against you. You've got to look at the intention behind their words and the impact on your life. Are they helping you heal or holding you hostage? And listen. I've had to make this decision in my own life. I've had to draw hard lines. People I loved. People I thought I needed. But you know what happened when I finally cut the toxic noise? I could hear myself think again. I could feel myself breathe again. I got my power back. You can't climb if someone keeps pulling you down. You can't fly if someone keeps clipping your wings. And you can't become the person you're meant to be if you're constantly walking on eggshells to keep someone else comfortable. Let me tell you something radical. It is not your job to fix broken people. It's your job to heal yourself, to protect your peace, to protect your peace, to surround yourself with people who challenge you with love, not shame you with guilt. So here's what I want you to do. Sparkles, take a look at the 5 people you spend the most time with. Sparkles, ask yourself, do they fuel my growth or feed my doubt? Sparkles, do they challenge me with respect or criticize me to feel superior? Sparkles, do I feel inspired after I see them or emotionally drained? Be honest, be bold. And if the answer stings, then guess what? That's your wake-up call. That's your moment. That's where the change starts. Now let's talk about your role in this, because we're not just pointing fingers today. We're owning our part. If someone is giving you tough love and you've been resisting it because it's uncomfortable, I want you to pause and ask, is this person rooting for me or ruling over me? For me, if they're rooting for you, lean in, let it refine you, not offend you, your future, your peace, your energy, your success. It all depends on your ability to tell the difference between the voices that are pushing you forward and the ones that are pulling you under. So the next time someone challenges you, don't ask a do I like this? Ask, is this love or is this control? And the next time someone criticizes you, don't react, reflect. Ask, is this about me or is this about them? And most of all, remember this, you are not for everyone. Not everyone is meant to walk this path with you. Some people are chapters, others are footnotes, and a rare few, they're lifelines. Learn to tell the difference. Cut the poison. Keep the power. Feel the love, even when it's tough. That's how you grow. That's how you rise. That's how you own your life. Now go. And never confuse being challenged with being attacked again. You've got this, that when you're around someone who constantly drains your energy, you start to notice it in small ways. It's not always yelling or outright manipulation. Sometimes it's subtle. It's that sinking feeling in your stomach before you answer their call. It's the way you second-guess yourself after every conversation with them. It's the emotional exhaustion you feel without even realizing why. That's what toxic people do. They slowly chip away at your self-worth, and they do it so gradually, so cleverly, that you start to believe it's your fault, that you're too sensitive, that you're overreacting, but you're not. You're simply waking up to the truth. Some people in your life are not there to support your growth. They're there because it serves them to keep you small. See, toxic people thrive on control. They manipulate, they guilt trip, and they twist narratives to make themselves the victim. You bring up a boundary, and suddenly you're too distant or not the same anymore. But you're not the problem. You're evolving. And your evolution threatens their comfort. That's the core of it. Toxic people are deeply uncomfortable with your growth because it forces them to confront their stagnation. So they lash out, they shame you, they pull you back down with their words, their drama, their chaos. And if you're not careful, you'll believe them. You'll stop shining just to keep them comfortable. But the truth is, you are not responsible for someone else's insecurity. Your job is not to dim your light to protect their shadows. Your job is to rise, to become the fullest version of yourself. And that requires energy. It requires boundaries. It requires space to breathe. And if someone is making you feel like you owe them your energy, your time, your emotional labor, then that is not love. That is manipulation. Love doesn't come with guilt. Love doesn't require you to shrink. Here's where it gets real. If you want to change your life, you have to change the environment that feeds your mind. You cannot expect to grow into the strongest version of yourself if you're surrounded by people who drain, doubt, and discourage you. It's like trying to thrive in poisoned soil. It doesn't matter how powerful the seed is. If the environment is toxic, the growth is stunted. Now, this doesn't mean every person who disagrees with you is toxic. That's not the point. The difference is in the intent. Tough love challenges you to be better because it believes in you. Toxicity manipulates you into staying the same because it fears losing control over you. One builds, the other breaks. One comes from strength, the other comes from fear. And you've got to be brave enough to tell the difference. Let's be honest, cutting ties with toxic people is hard, especially if they're close, friends, family, long-time connections. But what's harder? Staying stuck in a cycle that kills your joy and convinces you that you deserve less than you do. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to you just because of history. You don't owe them your peace in exchange for their presence. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to protect your space. And you are allowed to heal. You are not selfish for choosing peace. You are not cold for choosing clarity. You are not wrong for choosing you. Think of your energy like a bank account. Toxic people are constant withdrawals with no deposits, overdrafting your soul every time they step into your life. And you're left wondering why you feel depleted, why you can't focus, why your confidence is slipping. That's not a you problem. That's a boundary problem. You need to start asking, who adds value to my life? Who supports me with truth, not control? Who uplifts me, even when they're honest with me? Your energy is your most valuable asset. Spend it wisely. Invest it in people who nourish your soul, not those who drain it, because you only get so much of it in a day. And if you're giving it away to people who don't respect it, don't be surprised when you have nothing left for yourself. Now is the time to protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. It's the foundation of your growth, your focus, your power. The people you keep around you either guard that peace or they break it. Choose wisely. Your future depends on it. Let go of the idea that you need permission to protect your space. You don't. Let go of the guilt for choosing yourself. You shouldn't feel bad for thriving. And let go of the hope that one day the toxic person will change. They might not, but you don't have to wait around to find out. Your life doesn't pause for their potential. You deserve people who are honest, not harmful, direct, not demeaning, supportive, not suffocating. You deserve people who respect your growth even when it's inconvenient for them. That's real love. That's real connection. So today, not tomorrow, start choosing your peace over their pressure. Choose your growth over their games. Choose your clarity over their chaos. That's not just self-care. That's survival. That's strength. That's you becoming the version of yourself who no longer makes excuses for anyone who poisons your energy. Remember, just because someone wants access to you doesn't mean they deserve it. Your energy, your peace, your life, it's sacred. Protect it like it is. Because once you do, everything changes. You rise, you breathe, you thrive. And that, right there, that's powered up when someone loves you with tough love. It doesn't always feel warm and fuzzy in the moment. In fact, it can sting. It can challenge you. It can make you uncomfortable. But here's what it won't do. It won't make you question your worth. It won't break you down just to feel powerful. And it absolutely will not leave you doubting your ability to rise. Tough love is rooted in respect. It's not about tearing you apart. It's about building you up, even if it means pushing you out of your comfort zone. Let's get real for a second. We all have blind spots, every single one of us. And sometimes the people who love us the most see things we don't want to admit. Maybe we're stuck in a toxic relationship. Maybe we're playing small. Maybe we're making excuses and calling it patience. A person who truly cares won't just sit back and watch you self-destruct. They'll speak up. They'll tell you the truth, not to hurt you, but to wake you up. That's tough love. Have. But here's the catch. Tough love doesn't come with control. It doesn't come with manipulation. It doesn't come with strings attached. Someone who's giving you tough love will never make you feel ashamed of who you are. They'll challenge your actions, not your identity. They'll call you higher, not tear you down. They'll remind you of your greatness when you've forgotten it. That's the difference. Too many people confuse control with care. They think someone being up in their business is the same as someone being invested in their growth. But control is about dominance. It's about fear. It's about bending someone to your will. Tough love, on the other hand, is about seeing someone's potential and not letting them settle for less. It's about holding them accountable to the greatness they already have inside of them. And yes, it can be uncomfortable. Growth always is. Let me ask you this. Do you want people in your life who tell you only what you want to hear? Or do you want people who love you enough to tell you what you need to hear, even when it's hard? Because real growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens when you get stretched, when you face the mirror, when someone who truly loves you says, hey, you're better than this. I believe in you too much to let you keep playing small. That's the friend who says, you deserve better than how you're letting them treat you. That's the coach who says, I'm not going to let you give up on yourself. That's the mentor who says, you've got what it takes, but you're not showing up like it yet. It might hurt. It might hurt. It might make you angry. But deep down, you know, they're not attacking you. They're calling you to rise. There's a big difference between someone who criticizes and someone who corrects. Criticism comes from ego. Correction comes from love. One tears down, the other builds. And it's up to you to recognize which one you're dealing with. Because how you respond to tough love reveals your readiness to grow. If every time someone gives you honest feedback, you shut down or lash out, you're blocking your own evolution. You've got to develop the emotional maturity to say, this hurts, but is it true? Is this for my good? Is this for my good? And if the answer is yes, then don't reject it. Receive it. Use it. Let it refine you. Look, it takes strength to give tough love. It's easier to stay silent. It's safer to keep the peace. But someone who really loves you won't let you destroy yourself for the sake of comfort. They'll risk the awkward conversation. They'll risk your anger because your future matters more to them than your temporary approval. And you need to become that person for others too. If you love someone, really love them, stop enabling their excuses. Stop pretending their bad habits are okay. Stop co-signing their self-sabotage. You don't have to be cruel, but you do have to be honest. You do have to love them enough to say, I see more in you. Let's go. That's what leadership looks like. That's what real friendship looks like. That's what self-respect looks like. So let's be clear. Not everyone who challenges you is your enemy. Not everyone who makes you uncomfortable is toxic. Some of the greatest transformations in your life will come from the people who had the courage to tell you the truth when it was easier to say nothing at all. Your job is to learn the difference, to recognize when love is tough, not toxic, to lean into the discomfort that comes with growth, and to become the kind of person who gives that same tough love to the people you care about. Because love isn't always soft. Sometimes love is bold. Sometimes love says no. Sometimes love draws a line and says, I'm not going to let you settle here. You're too powerful for that. And that's not a weakness. That's the kind of love that changes lives. Not everyone who disagrees with you is toxic. Not everyone who tells you something uncomfortable is out to harm you. There's a dangerous tendency right now to label anything that makes us feel challenged, anything that forces us to reflect deeply, as a negative or a toxic. But here's the truth. Growth requires discomfort. It requires confrontation. It requires a mirror. And sometimes the people who hold up that mirror are the ones who care the most. Tough love is honest, even when it's uncomfortable. It doesn't sugarcoat the truth, but it's delivered from a place of care, not control. When someone tells you you're not showing up like you say you want to, or you're playing small, and I know you're capable of more, they're not being toxic. They're being brave. They're putting your growth above your temporary feelings, and that is not toxicity. That's courage. That's love in action. On the flip side, real toxicity often pretends to be support. It manipulates through guilt, gaslights your emotions, keeps you in cycles of dependency. It makes you feel like you're never enough, but doesn't offer a path to become better. Toxicity isn't about being direct, it's about being controlling, emotionally draining, and self-serving. It seeks to keep you stuck, not push you to rise. And the sad part is sometimes it wears the mask of concern. It says, I'm just trying to help, while actually making you feel smaller and more helpless every time. But tough love? Tough love. Tough love sees your potential and demands that you live up to it. It says, I'm not going to let you sabotage yourself. It says, I'll walk with you through this, but I won't lie to you to keep you comfortable. That's a friend. That's a mentor. That's a leader. You've got to learn how to tell the difference. Because if you label every challenge as toxic, you'll miss out on the very feedback you need to grow. If you surround yourself only with people who agree with you, you'll build an echo chamber, not a life of purpose. The people who love you will disagree with you sometimes. They will say, hey, you're out of alignment, and yes, it may sting. But that sting, that's truth breaking through your defenses. It's not always about what's said. It's about how and why it's said. Is the person rooting for your best self? Are they holding you to your highest standard? Dietone, up standard. Are they willing to say the hard thing because they care about your evolution? Then listen, lean in. That's not someone trying to tear you down. That's someone who believes you're capable of more than you're currently showing the world. But the responsibility doesn't end with recognizing the difference. You have to ask yourself, who am I in other people's lives? Are you the person who enables mediocrity in your loved ones because you don't want to rock the boat? Or are you willing to say, I love you, and because I love you, I'm not going to pretend this is okay? The goal is not to become judgmental. The goal is to become courageous. It takes courage to speak up. It takes wisdom to know when to hold space and when to push. And it takes strength to be the kind of person who calls people higher without condemning them. So if someone tells you you're capable of more, why are you hiding? And it rattles you. Don't dismiss them. Reflect on it. Ask yourself, what part of me is reacting? My ego, my fear, or my awareness that they're actually right. Self-awareness is key. Because the more secure you are in yourself, the better you'll get at recognizing when someone is pushing you with love versus manipulating you out of control. You'll stop being defensive and start being discerning. Discernment is everything. Without it, you'll label help as harm and harm as help. You'll reject people who are sent to sharpen you and embrace people who are subtly keeping you small. That's not strength. That's self-sabotage in disguise. So here's your challenge. Start paying attention to how people make you feel about yourself after you walk away. Do you feel empowered even if the conversation was tough? Or do you feel confused, belittled, unsure of who you are? That's the difference. One is love, the other is toxicity. Remember, people who care about you don't need to agree with you all the time. In fact, they won't. And that's the point. Growth doesn't come from always being right. It comes from being willing to listen, to adjust, and to rise. Stop pushing away the people who challenge you. Start recognizing that sometimes the most uncomfortable voices are the ones you need the most. They're not trying to hurt you. They're trying to wake you up. Tough love is a gift. Learn to receive it and be brave enough to give it. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors with locks. And when you decide to value yourself, those locks become non-negotiable. One of the hardest but most necessary lessons in life is this. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow. If you let people walk all over your time, your energy, your peace, they will. Not because they're evil, but because you haven't set the standard, you haven't drawn the line. And if you don't, no one else will. See, here's what happens when you don't have boundaries. You start saying yes when you mean no. You get resentful, you feel exhausted. You begin living someone else's life instead of your own. You're trying to be everything to everyone. But here's the secret. That's not kindness, that's self-abandonment. That's fear dressed up as people-pleasing. But when you establish strong boundaries, you stop apologizing for taking up space. You stop shrinking to make others feel comfortable. You stop compromising your values just to avoid confrontation. Boundaries are not about being rude or harsh. They're about clarity. They're about honoring yourself enough to say, this is what's okay with me, and this is what isn't. And let me be real with you, people won't always like it, especially if they benefited from your lack of boundaries. When you finally say, no, I can't do that, or this doesn't work for me anymore, the people who are comfortable with you being a doormat may call you selfish, dramatic, even toxic. But that's not a reflection of your boundary. It's a reflection of their entitlement. Setting boundaries is not about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself. It's about choosing how you show up in your relationships, your work, your life, with intention, with respect, with purpose. You're saying a matter. My time matters. My energy matters. My peace matters. Because if you don't guard those things, someone else will consume them without a second thought. Think about it. How often do you say yes out of guilt instead of alignment? How often do you agree to things that drain you just to keep the peace? And how often does that lead to bitterness, burnout, and a quiet anger that you swallow every day? Boundaries fix that. Not overnight, because at first it's uncomfortable, especially if you've spent your whole life accommodating others. But discomfort isn't danger. It's a signal that you're doing something different, something healthier. Let's talk about real-world boundaries. It's telling your boss, I don't respond to emails after 7 p.m. It's telling your partner, I need alone time to recharge. And that doesn't mean I love you any less. It's telling a friend, I'm here for you, but I can't be your therapist. It's telling yourself, I don't need to explain or justify my no. And it's not just about the boundary itself, it's about following through. Boundaries mean nothing if you don't enforce them. You can't say, I don't accept being yelled at, and then keep engaging when someone raises their voice. You can't say, I need space, and then feel guilty for taking it. Boundaries are your responsibility. You build them, you maintain them, you live by them. And here's the powerful part. When you model healthy boundaries, you give others permission to do the same. You show your kids what self-respect looks like. You show your coworkers what professionalism looks like. You show your friends what healthy love looks like. You stop enabling dysfunction and start embodying integrity. Now, some people will leave your life when you start setting boundaries. Let them. If your love was conditional on you being small, silent, or submissive, it wasn't love. If someone only values you when they can use you, they don't value you at all. Let them go. Make room for people who honor the real you, not the version they can manipulate. You are not here to be consumed. You're not here to be constantly available. You're not here to bleed your energy dry in the name of being a nice. You are here to live fully, boldly, with purpose. And that starts with drawing the line. Boundaries are how you say, I'm not available for that. They are how you protect your focus, your dreams, your healing. They are how you ensure that you don't lose yourself while trying to support everyone else. Boundaries are how you love yourself in action, not just in theory. So if you're feeling depleted, disrespected, or disconnected, ask yourself, where am I letting people cross lines I haven't even defined? And what would change if I finally did? It's not easy, but it's worth it. Because when you get clear on your boundaries, you reclaim your power. You stop asking for permission to exist. You stop bending to keep people who aren't meant for your future. You start showing up as the leader of your life. And that's where your peace lives. That's where your clarity lives. That's where your future lives. So stop waiting for someone to rescue you from the chaos. Be the one who draws the line. Be the one who says, this is what I need. Be the one who honors themselves enough to walk away from anything or anyone. That doesn't. That's not selfish. That's self-respect. And it's time you practiced it unapologetically. Being kind doesn't mean being weak. That's one of the biggest lies we've been sold. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that kindness has to be soft, quiet, agreeable, that it means letting things slide or staying silent to keep the peace. But real kindness, it's strong, it's honest, it sets the standard, not just for how others treat us, but for how we move through the world. And sometimes that means saying hard things. It means calling someone out because you care enough not to let them stay stuck. It means telling the truth, even if it's uncomfortable. That's not cruelty. That's love with backbone. Let's be clear. There's a huge difference between being toxic and offering tough love. Toxic people criticize to control. They tear down to feel bigger. Their words are laced with shame, manipulation, or ego. It's not about helping you grow. It's about making themselves feel superior. But tough love, it comes from someone who genuinely wants to see you rise. It may sting in the moment, but it's delivered with care, respect, and a belief in your potential. It's not about breaking you down. It's about challenging you to rise up. Too often, we confuse the two. We hear someone say, "I'm just being honest," as they hurl unfiltered judgments or passive-aggressive digs. That's not honesty. That's cruelty dressed in self-righteousness. Real honesty, the kind that heals and uplifts, is rooted in empathy. It's not about unloading your opinions. It's about offering insight that's constructive, not corrosive. And that's what tough love does. It invites you to level up without tearing you down. Think about the people who've had the most impact on your life. I bet it wasn't the ones who told you what you wanted to hear. I bet it was the coach who pushed you harder than anyone else. The friend who told you the relationship was toxic and you deserved more. The mentor who said, "You're capable of more. Why are you playing small?" Those people weren't toxic. They loved you enough to be real with you. They believed in you when you didn't. That's tough love. And it's one of the greatest gifts someone can give. But here's the catch. You have to be willing to receive it. Tough love only works when you're ready to be uncomfortable. When you're ready to put your ego aside and say, "Okay, maybe they're right." Growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. It happens when you're challenged. When someone sees more in you and refuses to let you settle. When someone loves you enough to risk the awkward conversation, the friction, the temporary discomfort. Because they care more about your future than your feelings in the moment. And sometimes tough love has to come from you, for yourself. Sometimes you've got to be the one to say, "Enough. I've made enough excuses. I've blamed enough people. I've stayed stuck long enough. It's time to get honest with myself." That's not self-hate. That's self-leadership. It's not beating yourself up. It's refusing to let yourself stay small. It's drawing a line in the sand and saying, "I know I'm meant for more, and I'm not going to let my fear, my procrastination, or my self-doubt run the show anymore." Kindness can be fierce. It can say no. It can walk away. It can hold someone accountable. It can say, "I love you, but I won't enable you." It can say, "I support you, but I won't coddle you." Kindness doesn't always feel good in the moment, but it always moves people towards something better. So how do you know the difference? How do you spot tough love from toxicity? Toxicity feels like confusion, guilt, and shame. You walk away from it feeling smaller, less certain, and more dependent. It erodes your self-worth. It controls through fear or manipulation. It's inconsistent, hot and cold, rooted in power plays. Tough love, on the other hand, might hurt, but it clarifies. It centers your potential. It holds you higher. You walk away from it with direction, even if it's not easy. It builds your resilience. It challenges you to grow. It's consistent, loving, and rooted in belief. And the same is true in reverse. When you show up for others, check your intention. Are you speaking up to help or to feel right? Are you offering feedback because you believe in them or because you want to control them? Are your words planting seeds of growth or fueling insecurity? Freak or fueling insecurity. Tough love is one of the most powerful tools in a relationship, any relationship, but only when it's anchored in respect. You can't demand more from someone if you're not showing up with compassion. You can't hold people accountable if you're not also uplifting them. And you can't deliver hard truths if you're not also doing your own work. We live in a world that needs more truth, but not the brutal, careless kind. The bold, loving kind. The kind that says, "You are capable of so much more, and I'm not going to sit by and watch you throw it away." The kind that says, "You may not like this now, but I love you enough to say it anyway." The kind that leaves people better, stronger, clearer, more empowered. So yes, be kind. Be the kind of kind that sets boundaries. Be the kind of kind that tells the truth. Be the kind of kind that says what needs to be said, even when it's hard. Because that kind of kindness, that's leadership. That's love. And that's how you help people and yourself become who they're meant to be.